Hey guys, how's it going? It's Freaq here, and today I have a patch 7.3.2 Destruction Warlock PvP guide. So I actually started playing Destruction Warlock seriously about a month or two ago, and I went onto YouTube to find a guide, and there hadn't been one updated since patch 7.3 dropped. So I really hope that this video is helpful to you guys. I will be going over the regular talents, the PvP talents, pet utilization, situational damage, rotation, as well as macros. Please subscribe to the channel. I will be bringing lots and lots of content, including Destruction Warlock PvP guides, videos, montages, and all that good stuff. Don't forget to like the video and comment down below if you have any other helpful hints for other people out there. Alright, thank you. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and get started with the regular talents. So our very first talent row here, level 15, there's really only one choice here, and you're going to go ahead and go with Backdraft. So what Backdraft does is actually every time you cast Conflagrate, which has 2 charges, it's going to reduce the cast time of your next 2 Incinerates or Chaos Bolts. And the tooltip says 30% here, but in PvP it's actually reduced down to 15%. And all this is going to do is your Incinerates, see how fast they cast, and your Chaos Bolts cast just that much faster as well. Alright, so your next row is going to be really only one choice again, and that's going to be Reverse Entropy. And what this does is your Chaos Bolts and Rain of Fire is going to restore 35% of your maximum mana, and it's also going to increase the damage of those abilities by 10%. Eradication can be good, but Reverse Entropy just gives you that flat damage percentage boost versus 7 seconds on the target. And Empowered Life Tap isn't very good. So let's go ahead and go down to the level 45 row. So these talents here are very situational. Demonic Circle, you're really going to only take for positional moves. Basically against double melee, it can be very good because it's going to remove the snares and roots that you have on you, and it can also teleport you behind, say, a pillar if that's where you actually place your Demonic Circle. Mortal Coil is usually the ability that I take. One really good reason for this is, one, it does not DR with your regular Fear, and if you use this with Havoc, I'll show you with these targets here. If you Havoc this target and you go back to your main target and you cast Mortal Coil, it will actually hit both targets. This works as well with your Incinerate and other things, but I'll get more into Havoc later. Alright, so last but not least, you have Shadow Fury. Shadow Fury is really not taken anymore because it has a cast time. It's got a 1.25 second cast time, and it has a 30-second cooldown, and it only stuns the enemies for 4 seconds. So really, you're only going to take this if your comp does not have a stun and you have DRs with Mortal Coil. Alright, so your level 60 talent choices are only going to be limited to Soul Harvest. Cataclysm is not very good. It's got a 30-second cooldown, 2-second cast time, and it only does 500,000 damage. Fire and Brimstone, this is a PvE talent, of course. And Soul Harvest is going to increase you and your pet's damage by 20%, or 20%, and it's going to last 12 seconds. And every target that you have Immolate on, which is your dot, is going to increase the length that your Soul Harvest lasts by 4 seconds each. So if you're doing 3s, you have 3 targets, 4 seconds each, it's going to increase it by an additional 12 seconds. Therefore, it will last 24 seconds. Your level 75 row, Demon Skin is really your only choice here. Dark Pack used to be good, but it's really not good anymore. It's got a 1-minute cooldown, and you have to sacrifice your pet's health for it, and it's really not that good in the long run. Burning Rush is terrible, and Demon Skin, what it's going to do is it's going to give you 20% of your maximum health as an absorption shield, and every 1 second it's going to give 1% of that maximum health. So it's a passive ability. It's always going to be giving you damage absorption, and when you're in a PvP instance, you're going to have about 5.4 to 5.6 million health. So this absorption shield up here will get to, at max, 20% of your health, about 1.5 million absorption, which is really, really good. It's going to help you survive. It's going to help you last in the arena just that much longer. In your level 90 row, I would say you really only have one choice here as well, and that's going to be Grimoire of Service. What this is going to do is give you another kick. You have your regular spell lock from your regular Fell Hunter here, and this is going to allow you to Grimoire Fell Hunter again, which will interrupt the spell casting of a target once again, and they are on different cooldowns. And then your last talent choice or talent row here, Soul Conduit can be taken. It's only a 15% chance to refund your soul shards, which is a very low chance. And Channel Demon Fire, you basically take this just because of how much damage it does. Here's a PvP training dummy. With my Immolate up, what it does is for every target you have Immolate up, you cast this. It's going to cast 15 bolts of Fell Fire over 2 seconds at all your targets with Immolate up. And as you can see, it does so much damage. It's just going to sit there and tick for 70 to 150 Ks over and over again 15 times, and it's a lot of damage. So there you guys go. Those are the regular talents. Let's go ahead and move on to the PvP talents. Alright guys, so on to the PvP talents. For the first row here, Gladiator's Medallion is usually going to be the only one that you take. It's basically a 2-minute cooldown trinket, gets you out of any CC. Adaptation, this used to be good, but honestly, at this point in time, people have learned to abuse and manipulate this ability. They can basically set you into a full CC right in the beginning to get it to proc, and then for the next, say, 52 seconds, they can just full on CC you and you can't do anything about it. Relentless, you're really only going to take if you're an orc, because orcs have a racial passive that allows them to reduce stun timing by an additional %, and this stacks with that. But Gladiator's Medallion is basically going to be your only pick. You can use it when you want. So if you're in trouble or anything like that, you will be able to pop this when you need to. Alright, so on to the next row. Train of Thought, this is not very good because as soon as you take damage, this buff basically disappears. Mind Quickness, it's going to increase your haste by 6%. This is usually the one you're always going to take. It's just going to increase your cast speed as well as your dots and how they tick faster. Initiation, this can be good if you're running a very high burst, high one-shot comp like right in the beginning, because it's going to increase your Chaos Bolt damage on the target. But most cases you're going to take Mind Quickness. So for the third row, this is a very situational row here. Curse of Tongues, this is going to basically make whatever person you curse increase their cast time of all spells by 30% for 10 seconds. This can be good against healers or classes that have a very long cast time or are very cast reliant. It's got a 15-second cooldown and it's going to curse them for 10 seconds. It's going to, like I said, it's going to be good against caster comps. Curse of Weakness is going to be good against melee comps that do physical damage, and it's going to reduce that character's damage dealt by 25% for 10 seconds with a 20-second cooldown. Curse of Fragility, this is going to be your go-to in most cases. It's really good because when you have a Chaos Bolt in the air and you cast Curse of Fragility, basically your Chaos Bolt is doing that same amount of damage, but it's going to take away 20% of that target's health. So your Chaos Bolt's going to hit basically 20% harder because they are missing 20% of their life pool. And it also applies and sits there for 10 seconds. So you're basically making the target only have 80% of their health. Alright, so on to the fourth row here. Essence Drain and Nether Ward are really your only two options. You're going to take Essence Drain against melee comps, Nether Ward against caster comps. Essence Drain, while your Drain Life is active on a target, each second it ticks, it's going to decrease the damage they deal to you by 5%, stacking up to 5 times. Nether Ward, this is your Spell Reflect. Basically, if any class, say another Destro lock or a mage or anybody is casting something big, you're going to pop this, it's going to reflect back onto them. So instead of you taking that damage or you taking that effect, a magical effect, it's going to place it back on them. The fifth talent here, or fifth row here, your really only option I would suggest taking is Focus Chaos. It's going to increase your Chaos Bolt's damage by 65%. It's almost much needed because it is what makes Destro Lock so good, is your high damage Chaos Bolts. Firestone can be good. but I really don't recommend it because it has a 25-second cooldown and only restores 2 soul shards. While cremation, it can be okay, but like I said, focus chaos is what you're gonna be focusing on here. And the last row here, entrenched flame is easily the best pick. It allows your conflagrate to root targets, and the best part about this, the root does not break from damage. So you can cast this on say a melee class that you're about to cast a chaos bolt onto, and for 3 seconds they'll just sit there and they can't do anything. Or you want to dot somebody up without them getting to you. It's just a really good ability. Um, and you can just root healers behind pillars. There's a lot of different things you can do with Entrenched in Flames. So yeah, those are the PvP talents. Let's go ahead and move on to our situational damage rotations. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and get into damage rotation. So as you may know, in PvP, you're not always going to be able to just stand here and cast certain abilities in a certain sequence and able to maximize your amount of damage. There's going to be times where you're going to have to CC, you're going to have to peel, you're going to have to go defensive, you're going to have to run away. So honestly, there's going to be 2 different phases of damage that you're going to have. One of the phases is going to be consistent pressure, while the other one is going to be going in for the kill, your maximum burst damage. So before I get started, I'd like to note that soul shards are your bread and butter of the spec. You're going to want to get as many soul shards as you can in order to cast Chaos Bolt, which requires 2 shards. You have 4 soul shard generating abilities, that being Incinerate, which is your regular single target damaging ability. You have Immolate, which is your damage over time. You have Conflagrate, which is your instant cast, which also roots the target thanks to your Entrenched in Flames PvP talent. And you also have your Dimensional Rifts, which are your artifact power ability. Alright, so consistent pressure basically means when your soul harvest is down and your team is recuperating, getting ready to burst again. During this time, you're going to want to keep Immolate up on each target, and basically your duty is to generate a full amount of soul shards. As soon as your team is ready to go again, that is when you're going to go into burst mode or going in for the kill. So as soon as you land a CC on the healer and the off target, this is going to be your time where you're going to maximize as much damage you can in the small amount of time in order to kill your main target. So one of the most important things is getting Immolate up on your target. This is when you're going to cast Soul Harvest into 2 Conflagrates, which is going to give you the backdraft buff, 2 Chaos Bolts, into your Dimensional Rift charges, which are 3 of them, into Channel Demon Fire, and then your last Conflagrate will be up, and you can use another Chaos Bolt, and then another Chaos Bolt. So this is going to be your maximum amount of burst damage pressure. This is all done in about 6 seconds, which is a full CC on the healer. If done correctly, you will most likely kill the target because this is a lot of damage, and I mean a lot of damage. So with that, let's go ahead and get into our pet utilization. Alright, so on to pet utilization. So as a Destro Warlock in PvP, there's going to be 3 very useful pets. You're going to have the Imp, the Fell Hunter, and the Succubus. So our first pet here is going to be the Imp, and he's going to bring 2 important abilities to the table. Cauterize Master, which is basically going to replenish 8% of your health over 12 seconds. Nothing to get too excited over. And then you also have Singe Magic, which is actually going to remove 1 harmful magic effect from an ally. One very important ability that this actually can remove is Hammer of Justice, which is the stun from a Paladin. On to the next pet, which is going to be Fell Hunter, which is probably going to be your most used pet. And the reason being is because it's your only source of a interrupt besides your talent Grimoire of Service. It's only a 24-second cooldown, and what it does is whenever an enemy is casting a spell, it's going to interrupt that spell and stop them from being able to use a spell from that school. And another thing that Fell Hunter has is Devour Magic, and basically this is going to purge a beneficial magic effect from an enemy. So say a mage pops Temporal Shield, you will be able to remove that. thus making them not regain the health that they would otherwise be replenished through Temporal Shield. And there's a lot of other magical abilities that you can take from other players. Alright, so the last pet here is going to be Succubus, and she has two useful abilities. The first being Whiplash, which is a very, very small radius, I should note. Knockback, which just like a shaman, will knock an enemy away from the location that you pick, and it doesn't make them travel very far either, so it's okay, but it's not something to get too excited over either. But her most important ability is Seduction, which is basically a stationary fear that she casts on targets, and it's going to have a 30-second cooldown, and it will DR with your fear. But one thing that you can do with her is basically seduce an off target while you fear the healer, so you have two actual CC chains going on two different people. Alright, so that covers the pet utilization and basically situations where you're going to use your pet. And lastly, let's go ahead and go on to the macros. Alright guys, let's go ahead and jump right into macros. So, probably the three most important macros you can have as just a PvP player is going to be your target arena 1, 2, and 3 macros. Which basically you press the keybind and it's going to target that specific arena player. The next three are going to be your focus, arena 1, 2, and 3, and basically when you click that keybind or that ability, it's going to make whatever arena target your focus. I also have a focus mouse over macro, which basically whoever my mouse is over and I click that ability, it is going to assign them as my focus. Another one is a stop casting macro here. Basically, when you're casting, you press it and it'll stop your casting. It's really good for kicking, or for juking, I'm sorry. You can press that to stop to get jukes from players, make them use their interrupts without them actually interrupting you. Another way to do this is basically to cast and just move. Either way works really well. And then I have just your food as well as your health stone. Okay, so on to the Warlock specific macros. I have a Singe Magic macro. So basically, during when I have party members here, I will have their unit frames right here in a raid style, and I can actually just use that when I have my imp out, and it will remove that harmful magic ability from them. I have a Focus Havoc macro, which I showed earlier. Basically, say this is my focus here. I can use that ability, put Havoc on them, and then use Mortal Coil into it, and it will strike both targets. I have my Arena 1, 2, and 3 Spell Lock macro, as well as my Focus macro for Spell Lock, as well as Seduction. Basically, whenever I swap pets, if I have the Fell Hunter out, it will cause this ability to use Spell Lock on that target, or if I have my Succubus out, it will use Seduce on that target. I also have my Grimoire Fell Hunter ability 1, 2, and 3 for each arena target, as well as the focus one. One thing to note that I have stop casting before each of these. So basically, if I really need to interrupt somebody and I'm in the middle of casting an Incinerate or a long cast Chaos Bolt, it will actually stop this. It will stop me from doing it. As you can see, it'll stop me from casting that ability so I can interrupt that target as soon as I need to. Some more macros that I have is my Arena 1, 2, and 3 Fear macros, as well as the Focus Fear macro. And lastly, I have my Focus Mortal Coil macro. Another thing that is important is having this Curse macro here, which basically whenever you switch curses in the arena, you can keep it under one keybind and it will cast whichever one you have active. I believe that is it, guys. Alright guys, so thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this guide was beneficial. I believe it is the only one out there updated for 7.3.2. So if you liked the video, you enjoyed it, you learned anything, please thumbs up the video. as well as subscribe. I have so many more tips and tricks and Warlock PvP guides and videos, arena gameplay, and just other things including WoW or involving WoW that I'd like to put out. So like I said, please subscribe, like the video, and comment if you guys have any questions at all. I will happily answer them, as well as leave other tips for other Destro Warlocks out there. Alright guys, this is Freaq. Thank you so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.